On the evening of October 12, 2010, in Tacoma, Washington, 16-year-old Nika Brendford, a promising gymnast at Tacoma Central High School, was abducted while returning home from her gymnastics practice. The abduction occurred on Maple Street between an abandoned car wash and a local grocery store. Surveillance footage, though of poor quality, captured a black Dodge Caravan, 2008 to 2010 model, pulling up alongside Nika. Two witnesses reported hearing screams, but by the time they reached the location, the vehicle had already fled. Nika's mother, Law Brendford, became concerned when her daughter failed to return home and did not answer her phone. After multiple unanswered calls, she contacted the police. Officer Sarah Martinez responded to the emergency call, and the Tacoma Police Department launched an immediate search. Approximately 4 miles from the abduction site, a security guard at an industrial complex discovered Nika unconscious behind an abandoned warehouse. She was rushed to a medical center where doctors documented severe injuries, including multiple contusions, internal bleeding, and signs of sexual assault. Defensive wounds indicated she had fought her attacker. Detective James Wilson led the investigation, establishing that the crime had lasted roughly 4 hours. Evidence collected included tire tracks, partial fingerprints, and traces of automotive grease, suggesting the perpetrator had connections to the auto industry. The police issued a citywide alert for the black Dodge Caravan, but its obscured license plate hampered efforts. Before we continue, please hit the like button. It helps YouTube recommends my videos, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. During her medical examination, Nika provided a crucial detail, a distinctive tattoo on her attacker's arm. A snake coiled around a dagger with the initials VK. This became a central lead in the investigation. Despite extensive efforts, including analyzing surveillance footage, conducting over 200 interviews and compiling databases of similar incidents, no concrete suspects emerged. By January 2011, with no new leads, the case was moved to cold case status. Following the assault, Nika struggled with severe psychological trauma. She developed PTSD, depression, and an intense fear of vehicles, particularly dark-colored vans. She withdrew from school activities and stopped attending gymnastics. Despite intensive therapy and medication, her condition worsened. On February 15, 2011, 4 months after the assault, Law Brendford found Nika unresponsive in her bed. She had ingested a fatal dose of sleeping medication, which she had secretly stockpiled. In her suicide note, Nika expressed her inability to overcome the trauma and apologized to her parents. Nika's death devastated the Brendford family. Laura took a leave of absence from work, and David, a respected mechanic, became obsessed with finding the man with the VK tattoo. The couple's marriage crumbled, leading to their separation in March 2011. Laura moved to Portland, while David dedicated himself entirely to tracking down his daughter's attacker. Over the next 11 years, David traveled along the West Coast, working in various auto shops to investigate possible suspects. He maintained extensive records, documenting black Dodge Caravans and individuals with tattoos resembling the one Nika had described. His search became methodical, consuming his life entirely. In January 2022, David attended an automotive exhibition in Tacoma, where he spotted Victor Crane, an auto shop owner with the exact tattoo Nika had described. Determined, David secured a job at a neighboring repair shop to surveil Crane, meticulously documenting his daily routines. On February 15, 2022, the 11th anniversary of Nika's suicide, David executed his long-planned confrontation. Disabling the security system at Crane's auto shop, he captured and tortured Crane over several hours. He recorded a confession from Crane, confirming his role in Nika's assault, before killing him. After the murder, David attempted suicide using the same sleeping medication that had killed his daughter, but was found alive by emergency responders. Police recovered the digital recording of Crane's confession and David's meticulous notes, proving his years of obsessive investigation. David's trial began on April 5, 2022. Prosecutors sought life imprisonment, highlighting the premeditated nature of the crime. The defense argued that David suffered from severe psychological trauma and acted out of prolonged grief. On May 12, 2022, David was sentenced to 30 years in prison with mandatory psychiatric treatment and the possibility of parole after 20 years. In his final statement, he expressed no remorse for killing Crane, only regret that he had survived his suicide attempt. David Bradford remains in prison, undergoing psychiatric treatment, but continuing to be harmed